announced because it wasn't in the budget. They have not said where the money is coming from. And this could very well be another scheme for corruption. We should promote cricket. We should promote entertainment. But we should not politicize it. We should allow it to operate as a unifying factor. People be entertained. But all of this must be done recognizing that the state has to allocate resources, and resources should be allocated for the improvement of the lives and the quality of life of the people of Guyana, and then we can focus resources on Carnival. That is my response.
Thank you.
Can you say how exactly you saw the cricket being politicized and aimed at promoting the PPP? Because I'm trying to get how you came to that conclusion.
If you were viewing it like I was, you would have seen they had paid DJs promoting the PPP leadership. That was evident. I have not gone to a cricket before under David Granger, Janet Jagan, Desmond Hoyt, and even I don't recall going to one under Jack Dale where DJs were, rather than focusing on cricket and hyping the crowd for entertainment, was focusing on promoting a particular politician. The last one was ridiculous.
Thank you.
I'm not quite done yet.
Okay, go right ahead.
So are you saying that all of that, you're saying a DJ promoted a politician? Are you negating what the cricket did in terms of bringing Guyanese together and how everyone was coming together, backing the Amazon warriors? And I don't recall seeing this major promotion of politics at cricket. You're saying a DJ perhaps spoke about the politician. I don't know if this was a reoccurring something throughout all the cricket matches or something, but are you negating what we saw in terms of Guyanese coming together, Guyanese having a good time?
Could I repeat what I said to you? I started by saying cricket has always been a unifying force, and that it should continue to be used as a unifying force. That was my first comment. So to ask me if I am negating its contribution to unity, I cannot understand the question when I began by saying it contributes to unity. Secondly, I am aware that DJs are being blocked who are not supportive of the government. And therefore, the government has an orchestrated policy. Not only at cricket, promoters are complaining that certain promoters who are not supportive of the PPP, certain DJs who are not supportive of the PPP are being blocked from participating in many activities, and in some cases the police is refusing them permission. And may I point this out? Many of them complain that when certain PPP-backed entertainment groups have functions, the police go and close those that are not supportive of the PPP. And so you're seeing a politicization of entertainment rather than entertainment being used as a tool to unite our people. I am all for cricket. I am all for culture. I am all for sport uniting our people. But politicizing on one side of the political spectrum doesn't create unity. What it does is intensify the political divide. I would welcome going to a cricket match, a show in which its purpose is unifying our people and we take the politics out of it so that it doesn't become a divisive force. And I can show you numerous cases, and as a journalist, I invite you to do a directory of the entertainers that existed prior to 2020 and see how many of them are allowed to have entertainment and activities in a free way. And then you would recognize that the People's Progressive Party is politicizing entertainment. And then I sense we will have to spend some money to teach some people to dance soca, dance reggae, so that it really become a uniting factor. Because when one sees one out of tune with the culture, it doesn't necessarily contribute to unity. And we believe cricket, culture, sport should contribute to unity.
Thank you.
Okay, my next question.
Okay.
The president visited Linden yesterday. He did a walkabout through several communities where he listened directly to the residents, and there was talk about government going back to address concerns and needs of several communities in Linden. Linden is a heavily populated Afro-Guyanese area. Mr. Norton, what are your thoughts on the president's visit, and how does this fit into the opposition rhetoric that the government is discriminating against Afro-Guyanese when we're seeing gestures such as the government going into predominantly Afro-Guyanese communities and listening to their concerns and addressing their concerns?
Going into a community is not addressing concerns. The president went to Linden yesterday. Apart from the fact he walked with a very large contingent to boost the people around him to make it look as if it is Lindeners, he passed the call center where they promised to create jobs. And that call center is virtually on the verge of closing because of poor management, etc. So there are no jobs. He crossed the Wisma Mackenzie Bridge to go on the west side. Now the Wisma Mackenzie Bridge was in the budget to be done. The PPP removed the bridge from the budget. And so it continues to be a one-lane bridge with no development. The visit of the president has done nothing to deal with that. Let me also point out to you that right where the president went, at West Rock, the APNU AFC was building a athletics track. It began before the APNU AFC left government in 2020. And until now, they have done nothing to complete it, when the majority of successful athletes in this country are coming from Linden. And then the president had the temerity, the audacity to say there that it should have been done since the APNU AFC time. It was budgeted for, work was being done, and the work was stopped because of the People's Progressive Party. Is that serving the people of Linden? Robson Ben complained that the electricity bill under the APNU AFC went up by $2 billion. What he didn't go on to say was because a lot of small and other enterprises came on stream while we were in government. That process has not continued. Tell me if going to Linden and meeting the people begins to solve the problem of more than 70% of the contracts in Region 10 going to people and people outside of Region 10. If you're serious about helping Region 10, you will seek to build capacity and allow the people of Linden to be able to get contracts in Linden. What are they focusing Linden on? They're financing a regatta where people will go entertain, spend the money. Their elites get the money from the regatta, but the people are without money the next day. Tell me, what has he done to restart the nursing training school in Region 10 in Linden to ensure that nurses are trained? What has he done to re-employ the hundreds of medical assistants that were trained by the APNU AFC that were fired by the People's Progressive Party? Tell me what Irfan Ali visiting will do in terms of the people. May I say this to you? Linden have a lot of public servants. Tell me how his visit will put more money in the pockets of the people of Region 10. Tell me, why is it the APNU AFC was building a road from Millie's hideout for the farmers in Region 10 in the Berbice River to bring out their produce to Georgetown? Why is it they didn't continue with it and give the farmers easy access to Linden and Georgetown via that road? The People's Progressive Party is creating dependency. What the People's Progressive Party has done in Linden is to take a number of people, many of them with shady characters. Some of them are fugitive from justice in the US. Some of them are responsible for the friend death in Holland through illegalities. They are taking those shady characters, putting money in their pockets, and having some events. Tell me, madam, the budget this year allocated millions of dollars to Hits and Jams and a PPP operative in Linden to build a school at Bamia. Today, they cannot complete it. Work is not being done, and the children are punishing. I have just given you the tip of the iceberg. Do not say to me nonsense, but a visit by the president is dealing with the problems of Linden. The problems of Linden are unemployment. The problems of Linden is people are not getting contracts. The problem of Linden is that the government is not promoting micro and small business in Linden so our people can do what they have to do and become independent. The problem with Linden is the development of proper infrastructure to allow them to expand out along the Wizrock Road. You know what the government is doing along the Wizrock Road? They are moving Lindeners and seeking to bring people out of Linden to put there. In addition, when we left government, we left a plan for the Mobura to Wismar Road. The British are funding it. The government refused to do that road. It took pressure from the British to force them to do that road. If you call that serving the people of Linden, engaging the people of Linden, they are engaging the people of Linden on trivialities. The critical issues to be dealt with in Linden, the discrimination against Linden, and the discrimination is obvious. Explain to me why you will give to every regional chairman a new vehicle to do his work so that he can go in the different parts of the region, but you refuse to give the chairman in Linden. If you like Linden so bad, explain to me why you refuse to give the mayor and city council a proper subvention so that they could run Linden and be accountable. I can run the list. Irfan Ali's visit to Linden are charades. it's a colossal joke. And as we campaign, the people of Linden will know the reality. And I urge the government to respond to the claims I would have made and to tell me if that is serving the people of Linden. And I hope your newspaper will carry my concerns, or whatever media you're from. Thank you.
Thank you. I see the hand of Miss Christine. And you'll need to tell us your media center.
Hi, good day. Are you hearing me?
Yes,
Yes.
we're hearing you loud and clear.
Oh, a pleasant good day to all. I'm Kristen Matheson from the NCN News. My original question had to do with the president's visit to Linden, which my colleague asked, but there's also a follow-up, Mr. Norton, if you may.
Yes,
Is there any truth to statements that are being circulated that Mr. Figueroa was threatened to be removed as the party chairman for shaking the president's hand and interacting with him during this visit?
Mr. Figueroa was not threatened with anything. Listen to me. Let me say this to you. If you look at the PNC and the AP and UAFC, you see that our members of parliament have the freedom to do what they think within the confines of our broad policy. At the policy level, as leader of the opposition, I took a decision that I will not shake the president's hands because he is responsible for the oppression of our people. Mr. Figueroa was never given instruction not to shake the president's hand. If I were to give Mr. Figueroa instructions, let me tell you what the instructions will be. Come out with pickets, with all the discrimination against Linden, and greet President Irfan Ali with them. That would have been my instruction. Now, I want to say this, that you're from NCN. If NCN can become fair and allow the opposition information to go on NCN, which is state-owned, which is the people's property, then NCN will have the moral right to ask any question. But NCN is culpable for discriminating against the opposition. They carry nothing from the opposition. And so, I know there were professionals at NCN who would like to do a professional job. But I want to say this. People at NCN say to me that the government has instructed them not to carry anything from the opposition. I wonder if that is promoting the interests of Linden when the people of Linden access NCN and can only see what the government is saying, regardless of how untrue it is. And so, as far as I know, I don't know of any instruction not to shake the president's hand. In fact, when the president shook Figueroa's hand, it wasn't the first time. Let's assume I had given instruction. Why then was his hand shook a second time? I saw recently in the press where the president was shaking Figueroa's hands, and then it was again. So if I had threatened to move him, why would I leave it for him to do it twice? You see, you're imputing the attitude of the PPP to the APNU AFC. Once anything happens in the PPP that they don't like, they will put a ban. They will do that kind of enforcement. Once you are not supportive of the PPP, that is their attitude. That is not the attitude of the APNU AFC. Our attitude is to get on the ground, do our political work, speak to our leaders about doing our political work. Comrade Figueroa will tell you, I tell him, we have to be on the ground, we have to do political work. And what I would have said to Mr. Figueroa if I was to speak with him, I would have said this to him. A lot of the issues you would have gone there to raise, we raise in Parliament, but they don't listen. Why you believe they will listen by you going there? I would have said that to him. Now, the People's Progressive Party, Air Finale, are part of a national charade to appear as if they are interested in unity when everything they do brings disunity. Unity will be created in this country when our people are sharing equitably in the resources of this country. If you are allocating the resources to the PPP friends, family, and elite, there isn't going to even be unity within the ethnic groups. When I go to Indo-Guyanese community and when I meet Indo-Guyanese, the average poor person complain that they are not getting benefits from oil and gas. The same is true in the Amerindian community. The same is true in the African Guyanese community. The greatest divider right now is the People's Progressive Party. The way they use the resources in this society is for their friends, family, and elites, and the mass of the Guyanese people are not benefiting.
Thank you.
I hope to see it on NCN.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I also see the hand of Miss Davina again, and I think I see Miss Garnett has raised her hand, so I think I'll take Miss Davina, then Miss Garnett, and we should be coming to the close of the press conference.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mr. Norton, I know you responded to my question, but I'm not too clear. What I was trying to get from you specifically is whether you see a need for renegotiation based on the 10 billion barrel increase in oil reserves in the overflow. And I have two other questions.
Well, let me answer your question. I said the contract provides a mechanism to engage Exxon to make whatever changes are needed. If you're interested in calling it renegotiation, feel free. What I'm saying to you is that there is a mechanism to make changes and government should utilize it. I further said, and I repeated what I said before, in the case of the new agreements, the opportunity should be taken to get more for the people of Guyana. I don't know if you will categorize that as renegotiation since it isn't negotiated as yet. That is negotiation moving forward. I believe negotiating moving forward, we need to do more to get from Exxon more for the people of Guyana. The third part you might have missed is that we can get more. But if we get more and it's just going to the PPP, the friends and the elite, it wouldn't help the people of Guyana. There are many countries in this world that have a lot of oil, but the people are punishing. What we need to do is to put mechanisms in place to ensure our people benefit and they do not punish. And therefore, it is not solely about renegotiating, it's also about redistributing when you get the resources.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, sir. My other question is
Could you raise your voice a little?
Sure, can you hear me better now?
Yes, I'm hearing you clear as ever.
Okay, good. So the US $9 billion audit of Exxon's expenses between 2018 and 2020 should have been completed in September.
I didn't hear.
Now that we're almost 2 weeks into the new month, we are still seeing an update from government to this end. My question is, what does your silence say to you?
What does?
The silence say
Your
to you.
silence say to you in regards to the
Unless,
Exxon
which newspaper you're from?
Kaichur News.
If Kaichur News had carried what I said, and I did say this at a press conference and repeated it, that it is the incompetence of the government that has caused us not to be able to audit. I did point out that the EPA, the Energy Authority under us, under Bino and Adams, they were increasing the capacity of those institutions to audit and monitor. This government came into place and destroyed that capacity rather than build on it. And so the question of non-auditing is a question that has to be placed squarely at the foot of the People's Progressive Party and Barachakdeo, because one, of their incompetence, and two, because they refuse to increase the capacity of those institutions to do what is necessary. And so, again, I repeat, there must be mechanisms for auditing. There should be mechanisms. I recall saying to a journalist from Kaicho News right at the press conference here that to the extent it is cost oil and profit oil, the government needs to put the capacity so that we can increase profits, because we were able to minimize the padding of costs. And if it was heeded, and if what I said was published, then in all fairness, this question wouldn't reemerge. But I hope I've answered it this time, and I hope to read about it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My other question is in relation to the recent oil spill at the Liza 2 operation.
The what?
Oil spill.
An oil spill at the Liza 2 operation. So this happened back in September, on September 9th. We heard about this through ExxonMobil, but we're yet to have an independent report from the EPA. What are your thoughts in this regard?
First of all, we were in the forefront of talking about insurance as it relates to oil spills. If you look at the oil industry in the world, you will see that there are always oil spills of different magnitude. The AP and UAFC believe that it is incumbent on the government that they have it investigated and then make the findings public. But if you have a corrupt government, a government that doesn't believe in accountability and transparency, they are not likely to do that. We call on them to do it. But knowing their track record, they are not likely to do it. If you have comprehensive audits, there is less scope for corruption. And if the regime is corrupt, they wouldn't do the things to minimize corruption. They will do the things to promote corruption. I reiterate that more action needs to be taken to ensure the EPA operates independent, based on professionalism, so that no government minister tells them what to do or what not to do. As I understand it, the minister is supposed to provide general policy guidance, but the professionals, assuming they are, because I know they got rid of some of them, in the EPA should be operating in a professional way and providing professional information and advice on what is happening. If we can go there, then we'll be able to deal with it. But the issue of insurance should be addressed, and ExxonMobil should and must be held accountable. ExxonMobil is a corporate entity that had resources. While we welcome them to Guyana and recognize the role they played in terms of investing, and we expect them to benefit on their investment, we believe that they should operate within the confines of the law and that they should be held accountable and be pushed in the direction of ensuring more benefits to the people of Guyana.
Thank you. And I'll take the question from Ms. Garnett now.
Tanika Garnett, Guyana Chronicle. I'm so sorry for earlier not introducing myself. My question is one question really, but it has a few parts. So I'm going to go slowly. Okay. The IMF recently released the conclusion of its Article 4 consultation report. In the report, the IMF commended the government for progress made in strengthening Guyana's anti-corruption framework and fiscal transparency. It commended the government for implementing effective policies to cushion the burden of the high global rising cost of living. And it also reported that the country's fiscal policy in 2022 has been appropriately supporting growth while considerably reducing the fiscal deficit. In particular, this is due to capital spending in the non-oil economy. These conclusions all run counter to what the opposition is usually saying. Can you say what are your thoughts on these different parts of the IMF report, given that it's saying that we're actually making progress in strengthening Guyana's anti-corruption framework and fiscal transparency, when the opposition is saying there is more corruption? It's saying that the government implemented effective policies to cushion the burden of high cost of living, particularly the global rising cost of living. It didn't say that the cost of living was just specific to Guyana, but the global cost of high rising cost of living. And in terms of saying that the government is appropriately developing growth because of capital spending, and we know this is the area the government would usually speak about how the opposition used to focus on, instead of capital expenditure, would focus on current expenditure, and we see the IMF complimenting the government for focusing on capital expenditure in the non-oil economy. Can Mr. Norton share some of his thoughts on the conclusions that came out of this report, particularly given that it's running counter to what the opposition
Well,
saying?
it is not running counter. The government produced a half-yearly report in which it admitted that the non-oil sector is in decline. I don't know which period you're talking about, but in the last 6 months, January to June, the government of Guyana half-yearly report said the oil sector, non-oil sector, is on the decline. First thing, you must recognize that the IMF is expected to be diplomatic. But in that very report, the IMF virtually said that the social sector program is ad hoc and not a comprehensive program to deal with poverty. I don't know which sections of the report you would have read, but if you read the report and take it in its entirety, you will recognize that the IMF is saying that our resources generally is badly managed, though there are some areas that might be properly run. But generally, if you look at the report, you will see that there is deep concern, especially as it relates to the social welfare of the people. And the report made it very, very clear that there is need for action to have a comprehensive program to deal with the social problems that are emerging. When it comes to capital versus current, I don't recall seeing that part. But I would say this: if you have oil resources, it means you can do more in terms of capital. But let us not fool ourselves. Capital alone will not develop Guyana. You need current, especially in terms of education and training and the development of institutional capacity. So I don't know that an approach that focuses on capital development without the concomitant and requisite focus on current expenditure. Because in the final analysis, when the work is done on the public service, you will see and reports are establishing this, that people are leaving the public service. And they are leaving the public service for a number of reasons. One, political control and domination. Two, discrimination. Three, not being allowed to operate as professional. And four, the low wages and salaries. How do you, even if the IMF speaks to current, it is my task as opposition leader to point out that they need to do more in terms of the wages and salaries of the people, including you at MCN and Chronicle, who are not getting special contracts. We're talking about people who are operating based on the minimum wage, the public service wages. The current needs to go up, especially to deal with that. And I ask this question: why did the government stop funding law? They were not funding law programs before 2015, sorry. We came into government 2015 to 2020. We funded law, and many poor people, children, were being afforded the opportunity to study law and to come back as lawyers and be able to practice and at the same time protect the poor. What has this government done? They have removed the law scholarships again, so poor people, children,